front end, which literally looks like a button, and if you click on that button, what happens is through a provider, you connect with the blockchain, and then you're connected. And then you can interact with the blockchain. Whenever you read data of the blockchain, it's free. You can query data of the blockchain. And you can do that using multiple libraries. You have ether.js, you have web3.js, you have web3.py. So first, understand what you want to do. You want to read data of the blockchain, and then you have multiple ways of doing that. And there are several libraries. In the Discord, I've listed some. And if you have specific use cases, reach out, and then we can talk about it. So once you're connected, you can read data off. And here's a Python script, very simple script, where I'm using an open source library, web3.py. And what I'm doing is I'm passing the RPC URL, I'm making a connection, and then I'm checking if I'm connected. So this is for the JavaScript people, print is console.log. So, and then I'm console.log the block number, and then basically what I'm doing over here is I'm passing a wallet address and checking the balance of that wallet address. You know, it's simple, I'm querying data. It becomes a little bit trickier when once you build a transaction, because reading just requires the so-called provider, so just forget it, it's just like reading data just requires the RPC URL. Once you write data, what you're gonna do is you're gonna change the state of blockchain, fancy terms. Simple terms, you're just writing data on the blockchain, which means that the blockchain now has more data. In order to do that, you need to create a transaction. Remember, every interaction where you write data, it's called a transaction. You need to perform a transaction. This is where, for instance, if you, let's say, move crypto from one wallet to another, it's a transaction. Let's say you create a token, it's a transaction. Let's say you mint an NFT. Creating an NFT is called minting NFT. That's a transaction. In order to create a transaction, you need a couple of things. Again, you need the connection with the RPC URL. Over here, I'm using an existing smart contract. ABI stands for Application Binary Interface, which is the manual of a smart contract. ABI is just like when you buy a vacuum, you get a manual and says, this button is for on. That's literally what an ABI does. So this tells my program what the functions are in a smart contract. Then I need to tell my program what the address is of the smart contract. Right? So the address is where to find it on the blockchain. Again, I'm connected here. Then it knows where to find the smart contract. And I'm telling my program, it's just a JSON file. If you're familiar with that, it's just like a JavaScript object notation. And it is a manual. So this is actually a super long line. In the Discord, I have a GitHub repo. You can see actually this code actually live. It's a super long line. So now, over here on contract, I'm passing this object here as an address, and I'm passing the ABI. So this contract line is important. I am passing the smart contract address, and I'm passing the manual. So up until here, my program now knows where is the smart contract. My contract knows how does this smart contract work, what's in the smart contract, and now I can start interacting with it. Well, not yet. So in this script, I'm going to do a simple transaction, move tokens from one wallet to another. I'm moving transactions from this wallet to this wallet, and then I'm going to ignore this one because this is reading data again. I'm going to ignore this one as well, and I'm going to come actually over here. Here's where I transfer the token, and I'm going to build a transaction. This script does multiple things. That's why you see I'm skipping lines. So on this contract transaction, what I'm doing is, here you see contract.function. So over here, see my mouse? The contract, I loaded everything, the manual and the smart contract address. Over here, I'm going basically in the method. Inside the contract, it's called transfer. And then I pass parameters, the wallet to, where I want to transfer to, the amount, and then I want to build the transaction. And this is basically standard practice. You could almost copy-paste this, except for this part. The chain ID is to identify which blockchain, which in this case is the testnet of Polygon. Then once I'm done over here, I'm building the transaction. There's a caveat, by the way, I'm going to get to that. Once I build that transaction, I need to sign the transaction. The signing of the transaction can only be done by the one executing the transaction. Now, it could be done by someone else, but it wouldn't work. So if I want to execute this program, I need to make sure that I own the private key of the. I need to own the smart contract. So a smart contract address over here needs to be owned by a wallet, or else anyone could just grab a couple of tokens and transfer to anyone. That cannot happen. So now, if I'm going to access my wallet, and transfer tokens from my wallet to another wallet, the from wallet needs to sign the transaction, right? I'm picking tokens from my wallet and adding it to someone else. If you're getting the tokens, you're getting the tokens. Like, no one's gonna cry. So if you're gonna grab the wallet from, I need the private keys from this wallet address, and I need to sign the transaction saying, their blockchain, I approve of this transaction, and this private key, only I have it. If you go to MetaMask, you'll be able to extract it from MetaMask. So there's just a button there that says export private key, you can get it out of MetaMask. So then I pass it here. Now anyone who is, some of you might have programmed, most of you have programmed here, I heard. So you know how to deal with environment variables. You know, API keys, you don't program them hardcore, you put them in an environment variable. Same with private keys. Anyone who has access to your private keys has access to your entire wallet and all your funds. So now I pass my private keys, and then I sign the transaction and send the transaction. This is a simple way of creating a transaction and interacting with an existing smart contract. All right? I'm going to pause here. Has anyone has questions? Yeah, go ahead, Rukia. Yeah, so you can, good question. A smart contract is actually pretty dumb in some way, because in itself, it will never do anything. It needs to be triggered. So I'm just manually triggering this, because I'm gonna execute this piece of program. Usually what you'll have is that in the front, an API call is made to a backend or towards the blockchain. For instance, I won't mention it because someone else might like steal someone else's idea. But like, let's say, for instance, you want to mint an NFT, and you mint the NFT only when you pass this door, you know. And then you could do something like, you know, a scanner would scan you past this door, and then a trigger would go into the application, and then an NFT would actually be minted. So likewise, there's a button. You could do it manually, or you could have it based on an event. So an event happens. Right now, bear in mind, this is just all Python. So it could be JavaScript, and so it could just be in a .js, MJS file in your backend, and in your front, like, and it's just waiting for a trigger to happen. Whatever the trigger happens, someone uploaded a file, and now based on that file, you verified 001 is in that file, and now something happens on chain. So that's why, and that's a good question, because whatever you guys are going to build, not every part of the logic is going to be on chain. Everything that happens in this line, contract, is on-chain. Everything in the ABI is on-chain. But only the stuff that needs to be verified, validated, needs to be on-chain. The rest doesn't need to be on-chain. All of it can be outside. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's all possible. It's part of logic. It can, and those kind of things are usually debatable, on-chain, off-chain, like how would you want to do it. For the hackathon, I really advise, again, MVP, stick close. I think you would want to minimize whatever is in a smart contract. So either make use of an existing smart contract or abstract away. So there is a list of resources in the Discord server where if you do not want to write Solidity, you can use JavaScript or Python to deploy, create, mint a smart contract and interact with it. All right. So this is basically how you interact with Polygon, how you would interact with a blockchain. Going back again, you just build like an app like you would any other app, whether it's mobile, whether it's web, whether what it is. You need to start with getting the connect wallet functionality inside your app, so a user can connect, and then you're going to need a provider, which is this RPC URL, and that allows you to interact with the smart contract, with the blockchain, sorry. And then you need to decide, okay, what do you want to do? I heard different things here in the same direction. If you need an NFT, you need to decide, do I deploy a smart contract first? It could. There are actually templates out for this. So the step one would be, how do I mint an NFT? Because if you know that, then you can talk about the logic inside your application, what triggers the minting of an NFT or the transferring of an NFT, all these things. So that's where it starts. Any more questions? No? Okay, so this is left and right a more detailed picture where you can see what happens. So over here you can see the actual library, web3.js is used here. Your application interacts with your wallet. It can either sign a transaction or just read. The wallet interacts with the blockchain, and you can see in applications you can still interact with your database or your backend. And then over here you see some interactions. I'll make sure that this gets shared in the Discord as well. Make sure you join the Discord. The email link is just sent to you again, where I'll share the resources. Okay, on-chain, off-chain, is this what we spoke about? So does every logic need to be on-chain? No. IPFS. So if you're going to mint an NFT, dive into IPFS. Most tutorials, 99% of the tutorials, dive into IPFS and what it is. It's just a decentralized storage system off-chain. So a bunch of servers connected the same way blockchain is, no encryption, or the encryption is different, and but it doesn't cost you gas fees. And instead, you include a hash of the IPFS to include in the NFT, and like that, your asset is safeguarded. This is an example. A user scans, this is actually a paper done by a smart person, Sage in Park. And a user registers a crash. Basically, the smart contract checks whether the crash complies according to the requirements. Like, for instance, it puts in a picture, it checks whether the car is damaged according to the filed report, but actually all the pictures go to IPFS, and the hash is sent to the application. So the smart contract on the blockchain itself, the assets are not stored, it's on IPFS, and it all comes together in the dApp. Very, very simplified overview of how that interaction on-chain, off-chain works. This can be a lot when it's first time. Definitely reach out, and I can have a look with you on how to implement this better. These are the actual layers. This is too much for now. I will make sure the deck is available as well, but this is, let's say, the layers you can, and the providers. So here you can see Polygon, and then usually these are the libraries you need on top, but you can simplify this radically based on what you want to do. Okay. I'm going to do one for DeFi specific. So far, any questions? No? Okay. Okay, this deck is also shared with you, and I'm briefly going to go to this because depending on what you want to do, it's going to radically differ for me what to present. All these guides, or most of these guides, have code bases. So you can just go to their GitHub repos and understand. I like the articles better because obviously it's time sensitive. So you kind of want the answer and broken it down, and something that, well, you can refactor reuse. So if you're completely new to DeFi, you need to go to Morales, the website. They have a guide on what is DeFi, basic transactions, basic borrowing, lending, staking, stuff like that. All the things you've heard before. Creating your own tokens, and maybe how not an ICO, but stuff like that. So this is a great place to start. Maybe one person in a team can do something like this, and then someone else can work on building the layout of your app, such as the Next.js or the Angular or React framework. So if you're completely new to the DeFi, this is the way to go. What is an idea? You can do buy me a coffee. So actually, everyone knows here what buy me a coffee is? Yeah, okay. So you can do a crypto version, which would literally be you pass your address in a website, and then you send ETH to someone who owes you, and you can maybe send someone a message, this is my address, and then they get to a form, and then you send coffee. This is the most simple way of sending transactions in a DeFi app. Something you can complicate, and I think, or make it look nicer, you can do tokens instead of native cryptocurrency. This tutorial goes over that. So if you just click on the link, then you'll see it's a video, but it's also an article, and it will take you through, and it will show you how to build this. If you want to go into borrowing and lending, there is a tutorial in both JavaScript and Python. Petra Collins, a recognized authority in the field. It's a respectively 16 and 32-hour tutorial, but it has a 1 hour in there. Yes, I saw you look. That's also most people, when he came out with that, we thought. But there's an hour in there that specifically talks about DeFi and Aave. Obviously, if you want to do DeFi, you need to know Aave. And then borrowing and lending is by far the best explanation, because he will explain everything to you. He will talk about what is a nonce, about a smart contract transaction, everything. He will go into detail. So this is the place where you need to go for borrowing and lending. The Aave documentation is also pretty good. So they've got here, this is just I went through this link, you can go there, and these are the guides they have over there. So if you have something specific you would like to do, so think first what would you like to do, and then you can go over here, and you can go through these resources, and then step by step, for instance, if you want to implement a flash loan. So what you'll see, and I mentioned this in my previous talk, Polygon works a lot with the partners in the ecosystem. So you might want to do something and you'll find different people do it. It's always good to get different articles. Some are a little bit outdated, so maybe it doesn't work exactly the same anymore. Make sure you Google these. And for a flash loan, I just made an example of a repo. So here you can see QuickNote, Alchemy, Morales, and Chainstack all have an how to make a flash loan article. And then finally, staking application. I would say that this is maybe for the people who are a little bit familiar with DeFi because it goes a little bit further. But if you want, then this doc is pretty good on how to build a staking application. But again, like I expect some interaction with Uniswap, SushiSwap, and applications like that. Those are real names, yes. Okay. That's a very quick walkthrough. Are there any specific questions someone has? It's good because I noticed like some of your questions, is also valuable for others. So if you have specific questions you want to ask, like feel free to do so. If you go to MetaMask, and then you basically download it and install it in your browser, and then in the browser itself, do I have it in here? Yeah. So this is MetaMask. So you can log in. I actually don't know the password of this one anymore. And then you can add networks. So you'll add the testnet of Mumbai. If this is the first time, you'll be prompted to sign up, and it will create a wallet address for you. So metamask.io, install the browser, follow the steps, and then after that you can add. Then you'll have a wallet address. Oh yeah. So I mean, like because it's very easy to do with create native cryptocurrency. So native cryptocurrency sending and receiving like ETH and stuff doesn't require you a custom smart contract because a ERC20 token will require you to create a custom smart contract that you will then interact with. So to build the buy me a coffee and just sending ETH is relatively easy. You have generic code for that you copy paste. So also cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Matic, they have an address, a smart contract address. So you would just interact with an existing smart contract instead of creating your own and creating your own tokens. That's why I said that would be more interesting. You could create, what's your name? Sorry? Salim. So you would create Salim tokens. And then if someone wants to pay you, they have to pay you in Salim tokens. Why not? Maybe you become famous and then everyone wants to have Salim tokens. But that's just an example. You could combine it with staking and NFTs. If you find me offline if you have questions. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Feel free. Like if you want to approach me one-on-one, I'm also good with that.